So with the time we have left, let's jump
Mhm.
over to Confessions of a Spooky Mind.
Okay.
This is kind of your autobiography of high strangeness experiences, we could say.
Yeah, it's a taste
But
of it.
apparently,
It's a big chunk of it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's everything from seeing UFOs and disembodied spirits to seeing a 7 to 9 foot tall winged humanoid thing swoop down in front of your car. Talk
Mm-hmm.
to the people about some of this high strangeness in your life. I mean, a winged humanoid is probably one of my favorite cryptid things. I mean, spirits, everybody talks about spirits. UFOs, you saw a ship, okay. But winged humanoids, there was apparently a real big dust up in the Chicago area that might even still be going on of, I guess it's up to like 50, 60, maybe more sightings now along Lakeshore Drive, all over the place. But that's something I would love to see. Hard to mistake it for anything else, but talk to us about that perhaps and some of these other experiences.
Well, I think that having these experiences, it's all linked to. They're all, as you say, they're all threads in the same fabric, right? In this fabric of reality. And I think if you're prone to see one, you may be prone to see it all, because it has to do with the lifting of a veil, your perspective on reality, the nature of reality. And for me, all this stuff in my life really began in December of 1979, when one morning I had some type of awakening experience, a shift in consciousness, a shift in perception that was drastic and changed my life. To this day, I'm the guy who woke up that morning. And I was 16, and I woke up one morning, and the first thing I did was I sensed, okay, something happened, something's weird. But I lifted my hands up and I looked at them, and my first thought was, are these my hands? These are not my hands. Then I got up and I was going through the house, and oh, there's my sisters. Oh, there's my mom. Oh, there's my dad. But it was weird. It was like I had this. The best way to describe it would be like if you woke up in someone else's body, but you had been briefed in on who their family was, and you'd seen pictures of where they live. So you're there. You're like, oh, hey, I'm a walk-in,
Yeah.
And then after that, over the years, I started having precognitive dreams. I started sensing presences. I, had experiences, eventually with ghosts, with, ultimately, my one bona fide UFO experience, and on and so forth. Here's the interesting thing. Both the UFO sighting and the sighting of the winged humanoid figure, I had witnesses with me who saw it before I did. Okay. Well, the winged humanoid, I call her Kid 2, my daughter. We were driving, we were headed up to Walmart for something, had to go get something. And so we're driving up this street in our town, and it's nighttime. And as we're driving up past this particular spot that, incidentally, I've written about in Empire of the Wheel as being a sacred spot for the Chumash Indians, we're driving past a spot, and suddenly I see this shimmering, silvery, winged thing, humanoid figure goes, just shooting across, off the ground right in front of the car from right to left. And before I can say anything, she says, "What the fuck is that? Was that?" And I said, "You saw that?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "It was as we were approaching that spot." She said she saw up on top of the light pole. She thought it was a shroud over the light pole, and then she saw it lift its wings and then jump off the light pole. And as it swooped in front of the car is when I saw it, because I was driving, so she had been looking around more. And this thing would have been, if it were standing up, it had to have been somewhere between, 7 to 9 feet tall. And it was glittery, shimmery. Okay. And then we went up to Walmart, and I think we were in there for 10 or 15 minutes. We came back out, and the battery was stone cold dead when we tried to get in and start it and go. And I had to call AAA, and they came out, and they have that super juicer. So they juiced up the battery, and we never had trouble with the battery again. It's not like that battery was dying or anything. It was fine after that. So something sucked the energy out of the battery, which we hear about, right? We hear about this in weird encounters. And, you can extrapolate a conversation, on that, but that was the experience. And we both saw it, and she saw it too. It's not like I said, wow, did you see that weird thing? And she tagged on and said, oh yeah, me too. No, she was the first one to comment. Just like with the UFO, another member of the household, her boyfriend comes in and says, hey, look at this thing over the house. And, I go running out there, and I talk about it in the book. I go running out there, walking out there thinking, okay, he's seeing a helicopter or something. I get out there and I look, and my jaw drops. I run back inside. I get the camera, and it's still there. And anyway, I talk about it in the book, I think, and go into the details. Yeah. But it's just the strangest things that I've encountered. At least in those two cases, I at least had a witness. It wasn't just me. The solo experiencer, the ghost, I was the only one awake, but they were well aware of the spirits that were in that particular house. So for what it's worth.
Always nice to have witnesses for something that wild.
Yeah.
And this is probably my favorite story. I don't think we've talked about this in previous conversations. We have talked about your uncle, who is kind of a mentor of yours and was involved in military intelligence. But you mentioned the story of the spectacles, a story told to you by your uncle. And he said they found this ancient technology deep in a Carlsbad cave, I believe. I lived in San Diego for like 13 years, and I'm familiar with Carlsbad and the area. What happened here?
Are you thinking of Carlsbad, California?
Yeah, when is that not where this was?
No, Carlsbad Caverns is in New Mexico. Not far from Roswell, actually, as the crow flies. Carlsbad Caverns are a well-known tourist attraction. And what's interesting was what my uncle told me in the late 80s was that there is actually a much larger part of the caverns than was known to the public at that time. There was the known part where you could go as a tourist, but he said below that, there's an area that's off limits that's much larger. And in that, I can't recall in this if he said the 40s or 50s, 1940s, 1950s, but there in a previous decade had been discovered some artifacts of people who had been living down there. And one of the things they found was a pair of what appeared to be eyeglasses, spectacles, right? But what he told me was they learned that very quickly that it was not optical glass that was in the frames. They couldn't figure that out. And they weren't, smoked or anything to be like sunglasses, right? They were just clear, but it wasn't optical glass. Well, the story goes that he told me is they had collected all this stuff and they took it back to, it was in a particular lab, where they were going to be checking this stuff out. And sunlight or something, there was a light that caught the spectacles at the right angle, and there was an image being projected on the wall that they didn't know where it was coming from until they're looking and they trace it to the spectacles. And that's when they discovered, oh, there's some ambient light coming in. And he didn't tell me exactly how, but he told me that they subsequently, through deeper analysis, thorough investigation, they saw that there was in each one of these lenses, so to speak, they weren't optical glass, but set in the spectacles, there was a wire just thinner than a hair running horizontally through each one of these lenses. He didn't tell me how, but it was figured out that on the wire were recorded events in the past. Now, not, they weren't at the Sermon on the Mount, like is often told, or they weren't at the Gettysburg Address. It was just images from having, the idea was, however this worked, whatever it worked with, the viewer, the observer, would wear the glasses, and whatever they were seeing in the past, in this particular case, they were able to record on that wire. And then other people, if they knew how this worked, could put those glasses on and see those places, those events from the past. And that was one way of looking into the past. And he claimed that this was found in a much larger cavern that was not known to the public. Now, the rest of the story is, I have been searching for this article. I might have it in my archives and storage that I got to dig through. But basically, in the early 90s, there was a newspaper article that revealed that, there's a much larger cavern that, they just found, if you believe that, at Carlsbad Caverns. So it was a newspaper article subsequent to my uncle telling me about this that revealed the larger area. And of course, I asked him about it, and he said, well, yeah, of course, they cleared anything out that would have, revealed anyone being down there, that kind of thing. So that's another for what it's worth, but that's the story. And could that be what, could Lockwood, have used something like that? You got to wonder.
Can you believe it, people? A video clip and a peek into how that sweet THC sausage is made. For some people, I'm sure it's nice to put a face to the name, so I started making clips that are a little more YouTube friendly than the full show tends to be. Get the full show on any podcasting platform. I prefer to keep it audio only, so we have a more decentralized distribution for a controversial show, and also so I can edit out the ums and ahs and barking dogs and all the things that happen when a person records in their home environment. And then if you really like the show, you can sign up for THC Plus, and instead of 1 hour interviews, you get the full 2 hour interview for just $8. I think that's a better deal, more of a win-win than asking you to support the show by booking a therapy session or buying generic Viagra. It's getting weird out there, folks. So just go to the highersidechats.com or click the link at the top of any set of show notes, and all your wildest dreams will come true. All right? All right.